Hi, I'm Debbie Lefever, your local crazy flower lady. Um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, I'm assuming that you all know how to take pictures. I'm assuming that you all know about aperture, shutter speed, priority, or ISO. So I'm not going to talk about any of that because I'm assuming you already know that. So I'm going to talk about things that I found interesting about flower photography. As Gary said, we're recording this. There's also a PDF, so I'm not quite sure whether Misty's already sent that out or not. The PDF has a lot of information. I'm going to be giving you a lot of resources, and that will be on the PDF, so you don't have to worry about, oh, well, where do I find that, or is there a link to that, or whatever. It's on the PDF. And I've had people in other classes say, oh, I've got some images I want to talk about photoshopping. Well, this is not the place for that. That's a rabbit hole I really kind of don't want to go down. And it's just, so I'll talk a little bit about Photoshop at the end, just to kind of wet your whistle. A little bit about me. This is my normal life. I am a professional event photographer. I travel around the country shooting 3-day events. This is my little workstation here with my cameras and my laptop, tucked away with the AV crew. So, and it's in a ballroom, and to be perfectly honest with you, all ballrooms look alike. So I'd have to look up what city this is because they literally all look alike. So this is one of the reasons I shoot flowers, because I need something to balance out my soul. Just to let you know, I am not a technical photographer. So when people say, oh, what ISO, or what were your settings for this, or, well, that particular camera has this particular problem, yada, yada, yada. It's kind of, I just kind of blur out for that kind of stuff, because as far as settings are concerned, the setting is, it depends. And a lot of stuff in photography, the answer is, it depends. What was your light like? Was it dark? Was it light? Were you inside? Were you outside? Was it windy? Was it, whatever? So the answer is, it depends. So as far as being technical, I'm not going to say, oh, I shot with this particular camera and I shot with this particular lens at this focal length. It's like, I don't remember. Plus my memory is horrible. So I really honestly just don't remember. One of the first things I want to talk about is developing your eye. One of the most important things that distinguishes a good photographer from a snapshot photographer is how we see. And a lot of times, and it doesn't matter whether you have a cell phone or an entry-level camera or a gazillion-dollar camera. It's the photographer and the eye behind the lens. So I actually have 4 different ways that I recommend people to develop your eye, your photographer's eye. One way is to shoot the alphabet. So if you can take, and it's not shooting, oh, here's a letter A or a letter B. I want you to shoot things that are shaped in the letter A or the letter B. You've probably seen like some of these rustic signs that spell out, your name or something. So it's a good way to start developing your eye. Now, you don't have to shoot alphabetically. What I recommend is that you write it down on a sheet of paper or a card and cross it off as you see it. The trick is, though, is to do it in one day. Because if you do it in one day, you will now start forcing yourself to see things instead of just casually seeing things. And you'll find at the end of the day, there are certain letters that you just do not see. And then you can ask a friend or your spouse to say, hey, I can't find a Q. And they'll go, oh, well, it's right here. So sometimes other people can see clearly the things that we can't see. The other thing is to take an object that you can move. So like a vase or a statue or a bottle or a flower, and shoot it 50 to 100 different ways. And what it does is it opens your eye to the possibility of seeing things, the same thing, differently. So the 100 ways is shooting it from above, shooting it from below, shooting the left side, the right side, up close, back further, against a busy background, against a blurry background, backlit, side lit, using different white balance. You can use it in tungsten, or you can shoot it in daylight. Just try 50 to 100 different ways. And it's really amazing how the things you'll start seeing things differently. Third way is to set your timer on your cell phone for some random number, like, I don't know, every 37 minutes. And then whenever your cell phone goes off, wherever you're at, find something interesting to shoot. Because a lot of times people go, oh, there's nothing here to shoot. And it's kind of like, no, there's plenty here to shoot. You just haven't looked. So it's the practice and the challenge of just wherever you're sitting. And you can get up and move a little bit. I mean, feet aren't glued to the ground. But just to look around and find something interesting. And it's there. Trust me, it's there. And then the fourth way that I just added is to shoot with other photographers. Other photographers will see things differently. If you've ever been to a workshop and you're all lined up with each other, is that you'll come out with different images, even though you're basically the same place at the same time. Why do things look different? Well, because we have a different eye. We're dealing from a different perspective. Me personally, I like shooting up close and personal. Another friend of mine likes shooting wide, and they're both amazing. It's just, sometimes it just see things differently than you normally do. How are we doing, Gary?
Good.
Good.
On behalf of Gary.
Gary.
Told you I was multitasking.
Sounds good.
I think we're okay.
Okay. Gear. I love gear. But it's kind of, it doesn't really matter what kind of gear you have. It's, you work with whatever gear you have. So, you know, the old adage, the best camera is the one you have in your hand. And it's true. I have over 20 lenses. And a lot of it, you know, it's kind of like, how many black shoes, I mean, women understand this, you know, how many black shoes do you have? Well, why do you have more than one black shoe? Well, because they all do different things. So same thing with lenses and with gear. So I have a gear list attached to the PDF. So you can see all the gear that I kind of usually go out with. So we'll kind of touch on it as we go. Where to go find flowers? Flowers are everywhere. They're in your backyard, which is the best place to start looking. They're in your neighborhood. A lot of us are now walking our neighborhoods. So by all means, go ahead and you know, feel free to shoot your neighbor's flowers, given that they don't shoot you back. There are a lot of parks in the area. My husband is a wonderful man when it comes to flowers. When I go away for an event, when I come back, he always, always, always has welcome home flowers for me. So I am and that's one of the reasons I started shooting flowers, was that he brought me flowers all the time. And, you know, ladies, you understand that when your husband brings you flowers, it's kind of like, this is great, but they're going to be gone in a couple of days. So this is my way of preserving them. And he gets them from either a florist Or our local Vons has an amazing floral section. There's Trader Joe's, there's Costco. So there's a lot of places to actually buy flowers. Then there's also places that are professional gardens, like Sherman, like we talked about. I like going to the Huntington Library and Gardens. And there's also the Los Angeles Arboretum and Descanso Gardens that I like going to. Also, the Fullerton Arboretum is wonderful. Unfortunately, they're closed right now for the pandemic. And then these flowers were taken at the Los Angeles Flower Mart, which is where our florists get their flowers in the morning. And that is like flower heaven. And this is literally on the sidewalk. They're selling these flowers on the sidewalk, literally. The flower mart is for the profession, for the trade. You can go in as someone who is not part of the trade. I think it's like $5 to get in. There's parking near there. And they have individual booths in like this huge warehouse. And you have never seen so many flowers in your life. It's just incredible. And I asked them when I first went in, is it okay to shoot in there? And they said, well, it's as common courtesy just to ask each vendor, is it okay to shoot? So we went in and we started asking vendors, is it okay if we shoot here? And they basically laughed at us because he said, well, you're the only one who's ever asked us. So it's kind of, I like doing it as a courtesy. It's something that's, I mean, it's amazing that they allow you to do it. One of the things that we did was I went a little bit crazy when we were there. Brought my husband and I started buying tons of flowers. I have no idea how much I spent. And it was literally, it took 2 arms for him to hold on to it. And I'll show you a picture of it later. The mistake we made was, number one, we didn't bring anything to put the flowers in because you need water for them. Duh. So we bought a bucket there. And so they were kind enough to sell us a bucket and to fill it up with water. And then we made the mistake of putting it in a hot car and going to lunch. So by the time we got home with the flowers, I had to hurry up and shoot them because they were dying by the second because they were wilted and we just didn't do it right. I flashed on something that I should have told you and I just forgot. Oh, their hours, because they are open to the trade, are from basically 2 o'clock in the morning till noon, because they aren't there for you. They're there for the trade. So I've seen people online complain, oh, I got there at noon and everything was shutting down. Well, yeah, they've been there since 2 o'clock in the morning. Of course they're going home. So if you're gonna go really, really early in the morning. So that's that. All right. Now that you've got flowers, now you know where to find flowers. How do you know which one to pick? Is there so many of them? They're all wonderful and they're all interesting. And it's kind of like with people, when you people watch, why is it that you watch one particular person over another? Because they're all people and they're all interesting, but why that person? So there's usually just something that just catches your eye. For me, a lot of times when I'm shooting, the light catches my eye. It's kind of like, you know, the light is pointing like, pick me, pick me. So sometimes light is very important. Sometimes just the overall awesomeness, the vastness of the flowers is important, because it's kind of like, this was taken at Descanso Gardens the day before they shut down for the pandemic. And the tulips were, it was just a, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, because every tulip was amazing, and it was just photographer. It was a target ripe environment. So it was just overwhelming for me. So you can get excited with and just capture that, even though individually they're amazing, capture the experience of the vastness of them as well. But then there's a personal part of them. So this was one of the tulips in with all the others. So just the motion, just the little bit of dew on it, just kind of the waving part. So it isn't just standing there, there's gesture to it. And sometimes they have swirls to them, and it just kind of seems like the waves are just washing over the flowers. Even though it's just wind, you can see almost motion in it. And sometimes just the tiny details. So if you get up really nice and close, you can see the tiny details. And sometimes it's just flowers cuddling. This is in our backyard. So you don't have to go anyplace special. A lot of times, somebody taught me to plant what you like to shoot. So this year, I fell in love with big calla lilies, and we bought a whole bunch of them, and they were beautiful this year. So when you find something you like, shoot it both ways. Shoot it horizontal, shoot it vertical. Tells a different story. And who knows, you know, you might need a place where you need a vertical, or you might have a place where you need a horizontal. You know, this way you have it. And also, if you shoot vertical to try to crop into it to make it a horizontal, it never really works. So if you're gonna shoot, I would shoot both ways to make sure you've got your bases covered. The horizontal, I think, will give you more information. Technically, the vertical, technically they give you both the same information, but trying to cut into a vertical to make it a horizontal, you just lose a lot. Backgrounds. The image on, all right, so I'm horrible at flower names. I'm horrible at people names, and I am worse at flower names. So the flower on the left, no idea what they are. I think the one on the right is a tulip. That's how technical I am. So the flower on the left, that yellow that you see in the background are yellow flowers. They are at a distance, but what I want to tell you here is that if I had moved or leaned like 5 inches to the left or right, I would not have lined this up. So when you're shooting, watch your backgrounds, because you can change what you see drastically just by moving to the left or the right. So we all know about telephone poles coming out of people's heads. So all you have to do is just step, you know, a foot in either direction, and you get rid of that. Just the same on the one on the right is that I didn't want him to merge into the flowers that I could see. There are other tulips in the background, but they're all blurred out. You can't really see them. But the ones you can see are not touching the main flower. And then the outliers. Just the one that, just a pop of color, and that you've got, you know, sometimes in a row of flowers, you'll have a row of like white flowers and then a red flower that just pops up and just kind of wanders over there. So sometimes the outliers are just really interesting. And this one, it's kind of like, you have no doubt what the subject is in that image. Sometimes you have to kind of dig a little bit. There's a lot of nastiness in here. Can you see my mouse? That's like on its own. This is just mean and nasty stuff, okay? And there's a lot of distracting stuff over here, and I don't know what's up here, and my mouse doesn't want to cooperate. Let's try it this way. There we go. So if you cut in really nice and tight, is that you can kind of get rid of it. So there's a hidden gem in this one, but if you come in nice and close, you can see it. and they don't all have to be pristine. So just like us, as we get a little older, doesn't mean that we're not just as beautiful and that we don't have a story. This flower, I think, has a story to it, and it's overcome struggles, and it's still in there, still blooming and still fighting in there. So even though it's been attacked, it's still in there. So your flowers don't always have to be pristine. Just make sure that the things that are in your image are the things you want in your image. Insects. If you have a bug in your flower, it is no longer a flower image. It is now a bug image. So if you're going to have any kind of insect in there, that insect has to be crisp and focused and in a good position. So make sure, so the flower now becomes the background for the bug. It's now the stage for the bug. So, you know, when you're shooting, okay, and you're looking at it going, okay, what story am I trying to tell? Am I trying to tell a story about a flower, or am I trying to tell a story about the bee in the flower? And a lot of times there's so many confusing things. All right, so your eye goes to what's brightest first, and then what's in focus. Okay, so this is like obviously the brightest thing, and it's like it doesn't offer anything to this image. It's just complete distraction, has no information in it, doesn't add to the story. I don't even know what it is. Okay, and then there's little squiggly things, and this is especially, there's a thing called border patrol, where what you want to do is you want to go along the outside of your edges and see if there's anything distracting or leading the eye out of the image. Okay, this just goes, I'm sorry, my mouse has got a mind of its own. So this clicks over that way. So this is just leading it way off the image. So sometimes when there's so much confusion in there, if you get in tight, it creates a much more dramatic image. So now it's a personal image. Now it's an image about the anatomy of the flower, and it's about color and shape. Sometimes with light, there's an expression that smooth seas do not make skilled sailors. So with light, if I only shot in golden hour, or only shot when it was overcast, or just really soft light or controlled light, that doesn't make me that skilled at lighting. So sometimes you just have to do workarounds. So the image on the left, I have a 22-inch diffuser that I carry with me, and I can just bring in my own lighting, basically, or my own diffusion. And then the image on the right is, I wear a hat. I don't like shooting with sunglasses, especially now with masks. Glasses and masks and shooting is just a recipe for fogging. So I can't see anything. So I wear a hat, and this hat is got a floppy brim on it, so I can get my camera lens underneath it. I used to wear a baseball cap, but most of the time I had to flip it around because I couldn't get my lens underneath the bill of the baseball cap. So this way I can just get my camera underneath there. This particular hat has a chin strap on it. So if it gets windy, I don't have to worry about racing and to try to find it again. And that flower that's on top of the hat, I actually went to Michael's and got a fake flower and glued a couple of magnets on it. And that flower is on the hat with a couple of magnets. So I just glue gunned them on there, and you can switch them out and put them on wherever you want. But here's the difference, okay? Same flower, same time. So, and untouched. Both of them are straight out of camera. Obviously the one on the left, really harsh shadows. You can't see any of the detail of the flower. And then the one on the right, light is much softer. So it's all the only difference is a diffuser. And you can look for color. This is just, I'm not a big fan of succulents, but sometimes they can just be really pretty. And it's just a succulent. It's just a red succulent. And it's probably only about 5 inches wide. And this is a flapjack succulent taken just right directly above it. So I'm staring down the middle of it. And I have this on a 30 by 40 inch metal hanging in our kitchen. So I love it. Okay, Gary, any questions? How are we doing?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet?
Oh,
No oohs, ahs. Oh my God, Debbie, these are amazing. You're doing a great job.
sorry, nothing like that.
You are
Oh.
doing a great job. Ooh, ah.
There we go.
It's
Wait.
amazing.
All right, so I told you at the beginning about my ego, right? So that's the third time. All right, lenses. As I said before, I am a lensaholic. I have a wide variety of lenses. When you're shooting flowers, experiment with whatever you've got. So I have macro lenses. I have regular lenses like a 24-70, which works really well when I'm in my studio, in my kitchen, because I like the depth of field on it. I use when I'm out shooting in gardens, I have my 50 to 500 lens, because that way I don't have to worry about trying to reach the flowers that are not directly on the path. Is that I can get up and close and personal, and I respect the garden, and I don't have to worry about trampling on their flowers. So, and one of my favorite lenses when I go to something like Armstrong's is my Nifty 50. If you're not familiar, a Nifty 50 is a 50 millimeter lens. It's basically $125, and it shoots at f1.8. So I like it because it's a subtle lens. It's not very big, and it doesn't look like you're coming in fully armed. And I also shoot with lens babies. So they're a lot of fun. There's a learning curve to them, mainly because they are 100% manual lens. You can shoot in aperture priority. I'm a Canon shooter. So with my Canon, I have to tell the camera that I am shooting without a lens in order for it to shoot, because the lens really isn't communicating that much. So as far as my metadata is concerned, I really don't have any metadata. It doesn't tell me what lens I have. My husband, I'm sorry, my husband just hung up on the window. Ooh, ah, you're doing fantastic. I gotta love my husband. So with the lens babies, because they are a manual lens, you have to manually focus them. And you won't have any information as far as your aperture. I'm trying to remember whether we'll do shutter speed. I usually shoot in aperture priority when I'm shooting. Oh, as far as what mode I shoot in, the mode is, it depends. So, is it, a lot of times when I'm shooting gardens, I'm going back and forth between shadow and bright light, and the wind's blowing, so it's going bright, dark, bright, dark. So a lot of times I will shoot aperture priority, but sometimes if the light is steady, then I'll shoot manual. So, and as far as aperture, again, it depends. What story am I trying to tell? Do I want it with a blurry background, or am I up close? If I'm really close, then I need more depth of field. So I will shoot at higher apertures. So again, settings, it depends. Speaking of up close and personal, these are extension tubes, and they fit between your lens and your camera body. And you can use them in any combination. You can use 1, 2, 3, all of them together, 2 of them together, 1 of them. It doesn't matter. You can just mix and match them. You want to get good sets. These are Kenkos, and they're usually the ones that people recommend because they will communicate with your lens, your camera and your lens together. They will pass the electronics through them, where some of the other ones now make your automatic lens a completely manual lens. So they may be cheaper, but it's $129. And I'm sorry, if someone ever told you get into photography because it will save you money, you were lied to. So with the extension tubes, they get you closer. So it's a way of doing macro photography. And a lot of times when you first start looking into them, you will have no idea where your focal point is, because it's so foreign to what you're used to. So what I recommend is that you focus in as close as you can on your lens with the extension tube on, and then get really close to the object that you're trying to shoot, and then focus with your body. So lean in as close as you can, like almost touching the object, and then slowly but surely lean out. And then you'll get an idea of where your focal point is, how close you can get. Otherwise, it just becomes really frustrating. If you put one on and you're 6 inches away and you're trying to focus and nothing's in focus, and you go, this just isn't working. Well, it's because you're either too near or too far. So it doesn't have anything to do with the lens. It's just you're not at the right place. So you can get things like this with the extension tube. Another way to get up close and personal are with close-up filters. I like using close-up filters. Well, I'll use extension tubes if I'm in studio. And when I say studio, I'm talking about my kitchen. There's nothing fancy about my studio. And I'll show you my studio in air quotes a little bit later. So I will use extension tubes in studio because in order to change the length of it, I need to expose my sensor. And I don't want to do that when I'm out in the field because I will do it a lot. So the nice thing about close-up filters, number one, they're under $13. And you can just put them on, take them off, put them on, take them off all day long. And your sensor is perfectly fine and perfectly protected. The one problem with them is that they are $13 for 4 lenses or for 4 filters. So understand the quality of glass that you're getting. So you just kind of have to take that into account. Also is that because they screw on to the front of your lens, a lot of times the lenses have different filter sizes. So you're going to need a different filter size for each lens. And at $13, I mean, for $130, you can get 10 of them, 10 different filter sizes. So that's not that much, especially, for the same amount of money as you could to buy extension tubes, you could get a set of 10 close-up filters. So a lot of times what I'll do is I will take my little nifty 50, which is only $125. It's a nice sharp little lens. And I will go around to like Armstrong's and I'll shoot and I'll just put close-up filters on it. So here's what it looks like with just regular, and then +1, +2, +4, and a +10. Just to kind of give you an idea. And then that's a +10. So again, it's a bug picture. So the bug is really sharp. And just so you know, that's not what it looked like coming out of straight out of camera. Okay, there is Photoshop on here. So what I did here was, if you look closely, the picture on the left, I took a dahlia and stuck it in a vase, and I wanted it with a nice green background. So I stuck it in the middle of pots. So remember when I was telling you about moving things around? That's what I did here. It's exactly what I did. So that's just a poor little dahlia all by itself, just a stem, and I stuck it in the middle of some foliage. So you can move things around. I give you permission to move things around. Okay, same image, same time of day. The only thing different here is white balance. Sometimes if your light is really harsh, what you can do is you can underexpose it and in daylight, turn it to a tungsten white balance and it'll turn it blue. So you don't have to keep your regular white balance, is that you're allowed to change it. All right, so I saw something that said, art has no rules. Is that this is not photojournalism. This is not nature photography. So you are allowed to change things. It doesn't have to be what it looked like. This is art. And with art, you can do whatever you want. This is for you. It's not for anybody else. So I took an image competition class, and excuse me, what we were supposed to do was we were supposed to bring an image that we thought was competition worthy and present it to the class, and then the class would kind of, vote it on or off the island kind of thing. So I presented an image, and it was an orangutan hand, and just the hand reaching through and holding on to the cage. And people looked at it. Some people liked it, some people didn't. And so in the end, they just kind of didn't even let it go past the first round. And I wanted to talk to the teacher, and I said, I want to explain something in the class. And he said, no. Because he thought it was just like, oh, Debbie's got sour grapes. That image took first place in Orange County Fair. So what the moral of the story and what I was trying to tell the class was that create for yourself. Not everyone will appreciate what you create. So create for yourself. You can't keep everybody happy. Just make yourself happy. So images are beautiful, but I also want you to consider black and white. So sometimes what you can do, some cameras will allow you to shoot black and white in camera. And it's an interesting way to see. And if you're shooting raw, is that you still have the color information. It's just that the JPEG preview of your raw image is now black and white. And when you bring it into Lightroom through Camera Raw, if you have the import setting as camera settings or as shot, it will show up as a monochrome. And then you can just, change it off and just do whatever you want to with it. So, but it's an interesting way to see. And I think sometimes black and white is so classic I know during this pandemic time is that I took the time to scan in my old family images and to preserve them and share them with the rest of my family. And the images that my dad took of us when we were younger were all black and white. And they look like they could have been taken yesterday. So black and white is just so timeless. So consider black and white with your flowers as well. So there's a thing called in-camera shake. And what this is, it's a long exposure. I told you I wasn't going to tell you any settings, but this one I think is about 2.5 seconds. And what I did was I put it on shutter priority, put it on 2.5 seconds, and I just slowly moved my camera up and down. Now, a couple things with this technique is that you will take a lot of bad images. I mean, a lot. So, but it's number one, it's fun. But just understand that they all won't be great. Also, if you're doing a vertical, I mean, you can do up and down, sideways, diagonal, circles, anything, zoom in and out, whatever you want. If you're going to take a vertical, what I recommend is, and there's sky involved, start at the top and work your way down. That way you won't end up with this big, bright object at the top of your image. So that way you know where that big, bright object is. And then what I'll do is I'll shoot it in burst mode. So the images are just, you just go click, 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 up and down, side to side. And that way it gets a smoother transition instead of just a jerky when you press the shutter speed, the shutter down, is that it has a tendency to jerk. So it's just fun, just fun. And you can do this anywhere. And this is multiple exposures in camera. So I think this is 4 or 5 images at the same time. And sometimes when you've got a situation where it's just windy and you're getting frustrated that, nothing's still. So embrace the wind, embrace your situation. So it doesn't have to be perfect. So there are ways to shoot multiple exposures in camera. Yes, you can do it in Photoshop, but I think it's just a different way. It's a different experience. And sometimes if you're out shooting and you get bored, just kind of playing with in-camera motion or multiple exposures is just fun. So these are the settings on my camera. I'm Canon, so these are mine. It's under the little camera setting, a little bit further down, it says multiple exposure. And so you have to enable it. And then what it has is, this one allows you to shoot, and then it will give you like a shadow of what you've shot so you can line things up. It's kind of almost like with panoramics. Sometimes they'll give you a shadow or a ghost of what you've shot so you can line things up. So it's the same thing with this. Or the continuous shooting, and that's just like shoot, shoot, shoot. The exposures are additive, so each time you shoot, you're adding more light, so it pretty much gets brighter. I shoot on average, so that way it's just like a normal exposure. My camera, you can shoot either from 2 to 9 images, and then you can choose to save your source images, or you can just get the results. Usually when I'm shooting multiples, like 5, 7, 9, I shoot usually an odd number. I'll just do the results only. But if I'm shooting just the multifunction one, it's, I may want to tweak it a little bit later, so then I'll save my source images. And then at the bottom, it says one shot only or continuous. So the one shot only means I'm only going to do this once and then just get rid of it and disable it. The continuous one is you're going to shoot this a whole bunch and you're going to keep shooting multiples until you tell it to stop. So this is the one where you've got one superimposed on the other. So the first image I took was nice and sharp. And then the second image I took, I just took, all right, so these are manually focused. So the first one is manually focused in the center of the flower. So it's nice and sharp and pretty. And then the second one, I took it and I just went out of focus, completely out of focus. And then the camera merged them. These are all straight out of camera. And then if you do little multiples, you can get kind of a Monet effect. So sometimes when you do this, when you've got like just swirls of color. So with the blues there and with the reds and the greens, I just kind of wanted to capture it, but I didn't want a whole lot of detail in it. And you can do that. So this I think is probably about either 5 or 7 images. And when you shoot this, okay, they are very, very tiny little motions, okay? So on my mouse, I can go click, 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 click. That's how much I move, okay? So it's not click, 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 all right? It's click, 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 click. So that was the thing that really surprised me on how very, very, very little you move. So if you're not getting this kind of result, it's because you're moving too much. And you can do it whatever format you want. I like to shoot in a V formation, but you can do whatever you want. There are no rules in art. You need to be prepared for everything. And every once in a while, you'll be out and it'll rain. And these are for under $8, and the link is in your PDF, is that you can, there's no reason for you not to have these in your bag. They don't take up any room at all, and they're amazing. I like these way better than, you know, the hardcore ones, because most of the time the hardcore ones, you can't see through them. They're all canvas and you can't see anything. I wouldn't take them in a hurricane, but I'm not going to take me in a hurricane. They have 3 different sizes. The ones I have here are their medium and their small ones. They have their mega ones, but their mega ones are basically for an 800 prime lens. So, you know, if you're going to go on safari, you may want to take those, but those are huge, huge lenses. Their regular and their small ones are just fine. And they come 2 in a pack. So you can, and they're reusable. So if you take care of them and fold them up nice and pretty and stick them back in the bag, they're reusable. So no reason not to have these in your bag. And then this is my don't laugh, you're gonna want one too. These are wearable pods, and they are the most amazing things to shoot in the rain. I am fully protected, my gear is fully protected. I just kind of peek out my lens and I can go shooting. And the fun thing with these is that everybody around you just thinks it's the funniest thing. And it just kind of puts everybody in a good mood. You know, it's rainy, it's gloomy, and here's this crazy photographer running around in his little Smurf pod. So it's a lot of fun. They're about $100. They strap on you like a backpack, and they fold up like a reflector folds up. So they're amazing. Any comments on that?
Don't see anything. You did have one question earlier.
Oh, okay. What's the question?
Patty asked if you do focus stacking.
I have, but I don't do it very often. I just learned that you can focus. There's a what do they call it? A script, I guess, in Photoshop that will stack them for you. So that's kind of interesting, but I haven't really done it. But she's welcome to do it and let us know how it works. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff that you can get if you go out in the rain. And light is beautiful in the rain. It's nice and soft. Plus you get natural drops on things. And it's just beautiful stuff. Looking for light. This is my kitchen, my studio, back door. And what I've done is I took a flower that I can move. And if you look at the flower is in full light, full sunlight, but the background is dark. And you can do this when you're out in the field. And a lot of times you'll see something that's in the sunshine. And if you move around, you can see something else that's further in the background that's in shadow. And it'll almost look like it's studio. So light, the object in full light against shadow, and you get that. So 100% natural light. And when we're talking about light, okay, this is my office. So I don't work in pristine environments. My husband brought me flowers, so I wanted to save them. So kind of looking around for stuff, and the window is what I'm using for my light source. So you can see how bright the window is and how dark my office is, but it makes for a really clean image. And then you don't always have to have great light. Again, my kitchen, tungsten light, with a wonderful background, which is our cat's bed with a towel over it to keep it from, so we can clean it because they, cats all shed. And just kind of a nice little flower, and it's just flower out of my garden, stuck in a mason jar, and we get that. So you can't tell that that's in the middle of garbage. And again, I don't know settings, but if you look at that particular light, my ISOs are up high. Okay, I don't mind shooting at higher ISOs. I am basically self-taught, which means I have hundreds and hundreds of teachers. And one of the guys I was listening to once said that if you see noise in an image, it's a boring image. So when you think about it, is that if the image doesn't capture you enough, that you see the technical deficiencies of the image, it's a boring image. So if you look back at your family images, I mean, when I was scanning in my family photos, some of them are just technically horrendous, but they mean something to me. They're a memory, they're my history. So I didn't see the technical flaws in it. I saw my dad, I saw my grandmother. So I saw the subject of the image and not the technical flaws. So yeah, is there noise in here? Probably. Do I care about it? Not really. And then sometimes you need an assistant who is not always cooperative. So sometimes you just need to work around things, and kids and cats and spouses. We love them all dearly, but sometimes you just gotta be careful with them. So if you look at the lens on my camera, you can see like a little white dot on the top of the lens. Okay, there's also a white dot at the base of the lens. As an event photographer, I have to change lenses fast and frequently. So I don't want dust in my sensor. So what I've done is there's, they say, oh, well, the way, you line up that little red dot on Canon, it's a little red dot, and you just line it up with the center of your camera, and that's how you know where to aim your lens. I don't know about you, but I can't either feel it or see it, especially if it's in the dark and I'm in a hurry. I just can't see it. So I put these little white dots on my lenses so I can find things. Now the dot on the end of the lens is for my lens hood, because I can't line up lens hoods either. So, and I've dropped off lens hoods because they weren't on right. So those little white dots are from a thing called Shoe Glue, SUGRU. And they're basically, it's what they call moldable glue. And you can just create these little dots and stick them on there, and they're permanent. You can take them off if you have to. And sometimes if I take my lenses into Canon to get them cleaned or adjusted, they'll take them off, is they think that they're doing me a favor. And then I have to put them back on. They take about 12 to 24 hours to dry. So I'll just stick them on there and leave them overnight. But they have made my life so much easier, because now I can change lenses really quick and I know exactly how my lens is supposed to line up. Now, so another thing you can look for when you're shooting are reflections. So these are on my kitchen table. And to do reflections for these things is that you pretty much have to be flat to the surface. You can't really get this kind of reflection. The lower you get, the more reflection you will get. So if you're pretty much eye level with the table, you get this kind of reflection. And also, reflections don't have to be horizontal. They can be vertical. So if they're up against a window, you can see reflections. If they're on a piano, you can see reflections. They're against a puddle. I mean, it's just something else to look for, to see. So like looking for shadows creates a story, and reflections create a story. Backgrounds, you can create backgrounds on your monitors on your computers. So you can create as many, you can change backgrounds all you want to all day long. Just flip them out on your computer screen. So you can get millions and millions, billions and billions. So it's just really easy. Now, what you have to remember is that your monitor is generally pretty bright. So you may have to add additional light to your flower to compensate, because you're now basically backlighting your flower. And here's another way that you can light things. This is a light pad. I have this link in the PDF. And again, this is kind of like shooting against a computer screen, but it's kind of like shooting on a light box, but they're really easy to move around, and they're real lightweight. And light boxes have a tendency to be kind of big and bulky, but because they are also backlit, is that you still need to add additional light to it. But the background is really clean, and you get things like that. Now, these have been photoshopped, but I didn't have to Photoshop out the background, and it was just nice and pretty. My studio. So you've seen the welcome mat in my back door. My camera's on a tripod. I have a slider on my camera, so I can do focus stacking if I want to with this. I'm a little bit ADD, so I kind of don't have the patience for it. So I don't use it very often. I think I probably got it off of Amazon, and I do not have the link for it. But that's on a black presentation board. So you get those at Staples or Target, Office Depot, something like that. But it's just the science presentation boards that the kids get. And I have one in black and I have one in white. And I've had these for years. So if you store them properly, they'll stay with you. Now the thing that's holding the flower is called a plamp, a P-L-A-M-P. So you can see on the top right where it's holding the flower, and it has a couple of different parts to it. It has a bigger part in the tip of it, which will allow you to hold a bigger stem. And you can adjust the tension of it so you won't be harming the stem itself. And then there's a padded part for stems that are really tiny. And then that part will rotate. So if you want the flower to come straight at you, you can rotate it. And then the other part to the plamp is a clamp that you can attach to a tripod, a chair, to the presentation board. Some people also have two of them. I just have one, but sometimes they'll take them out in the field and they'll use it to hold the diffuser. So they'll put the clamp on their tripod and they'll use it to hold their diffuser. And sometimes they'll use the other one to hold back other plants to keep them out of the way. And then on the bottom right, I have my flash on a transmitter. Those are Magmod adapters or attachments to my flash. So I have a grid on there, and then I have the diffuser. And with Magmods, what you do is you can change them out just by magnets, and they just pull off and snap back on and off. They're just really easy to take on and off once you get the adapter on the head. And then with that, what I do is I use my flash handheld, and I will take a lot of images, because what I'll do is I will hold the flash above it. I'll hold above the flower, to the left of the flower, to the right of the flower, close, further away, and just move it all over the place. I get a lot of bad images, but I get some good ones too. And I can get things like that. So it's just patience. Then I can do strobes. And a lot of times, instead of using my strobe, my softbox as a softbox, I'll use it as a backdrop. Because now that's high key and it's a nice clean background. You can see the plamp attached to the back of a chair, aiming it at the light.
You need to turn it off.
Whoop. So then you can just kind of, and then I've also used the black presentation board to hide my husband. And I get things like this. So the one on the right is just directly in front of the softbox, and the one on the left is the edge of the softbox against the black presentation board. Textures. Start talking a little bit about Photoshop. With the pandemic, I've decided to kind of start improving my Photoshop skills. Textures are a next level for things. I put in a couple resources for textures. They're nice because they can kind of diffuse out some backgrounds that you don't like. And I think it kind of gives it more of a artistic flair to it, but it's just something to think about. And there are all kinds of different sources of textures, and you have to be careful because they can be kind of addictive. So with Photoshop, there's like all kinds of different things you can do. So the image on the right, or I'm sorry, the left, has some things that I think are distracting. The upper left-hand corner, right through here, is that this is bright, the sun's shining on the leaf, and again, border patrol. So I don't want that. So what I've done is just crop it. Cropping can do amazing things to your image. And it gets rid of a lot of stuff and start honing in on things. So I did that and I kind of blurred out the background a little bit. But then a friend of mine, with the twirling, we were flipping twirls. And he said, well, why don't we start flipping pictures? I was like, okay. So what I did was I started flipping flowers and got this. So it's kind of, this is addictive. This is just as addictive as twirling. Because it's just completely different way to see things. So as I said, I'm trying to learn different ways in Photoshop, and Photoshop has a bunch of different actions in there. There's a place called Envato Elements, and there's a link. And I've been watching this guy, and I can't pronounce his name, Umesh. I think he's a little Indian guy, and he's got like this monobrow, and he's delightful, just delightful. And he's really, really, really good at Photoshop. And he has a link to Envato Elements for $9 for a subscription to them. It's a monthly subscription, but for $9, you can get unlimited downloads of Photoshop actions, Photoshop brushes, fonts, graphics, unlimited downloads. And then what you can do, then it becomes a $33 a month subscription. But I just canceled after the first month. So it was like the most entertaining $9 I've spent in a long time. And you just start just downloading things just to download them. And you can play with them after your first month. But they have, with Photoshop Actions, it's basically 1 or 2 clicks, and you can go from this to that in 1 or 2 clicks. So I cannot paint or draw to save my life. But that to that, or something like that, is people say, oh, I want a painterly effect. I don't know how to paint. And I don't know how to sketch either. So this link is included in the PDF, and it's a link for his site. So I'm not getting anything out of it. But for that, if you use that link, it's only $9. If you just go to them regularly, I think it's like $16 for your first month. But, and then just cancel. And they're great about letting you cancel after the first month. So I am a lucky girl. So this is my husband at the flower mart, and we bought way too many flowers. And all those flowers were basically dead 2 days later. So if you go straight home in air conditioning and get them in some kind of refrigeration as soon as possible. But he is also my Sherpa. So I am blessed to be able to have him with me along the journey. I've given this class. This is the 3rd time I've actually given this class. And people have said, oh, I want to go shooting with you. And I want people to go shooting with me. I'm bored out of my mind and want to go, I want human contact again. So one of the ways I decided to keep in touch with people is I created a Facebook group, which I've never done before, and I'm completely making this up as I go along. But I want this group to be a group where we can share flowers, where we can share information. I fully believe in just sharing as much as possible. I don't care that people, peek behind my curtains. So I created a little Facebook group. So if you want to, you're welcome to join us. And then if you ever want to, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to contact me. I'm happy to chat. There's my cell phone number, my email address, my Facebook site, my website. And if you want, I'm happy to Zoom with you. So if you want to play with any kind of Photoshop actions or Photoshop or whatever, I'm happy to do one-on-ones. So Which is more important, asked the big panda, the journey or the destination? And it's the company, said the little dragon. So I'm enjoying the company, and thank you for my journey. And hopefully this is the beginning of something new. So I'm done.
Okay, so let me unmute everybody.
All right, and I'm stopping sharing, I think. How'd we do?
Wonderful,
amazing.
Debbie. Thank you so much.
You're
That was
welcome.
amazing. Thank you.
Great. Yeah.
Very
Very,
informative. I
Very
learned a
good.
lot.
Yeah.
So
Thank
what
you so much. Great.
What did you learn?
Where do you start?
Yeah.
I know.
Because that helped me as far as what you learned. Was there anything that you didn't understand?
Yes. Yes.
What?
Lost you in Photoshop when you were talking about flipping.
Okay. Okay.
That was the only time I lost you, though. Everything else was wonderful.
How good are you at Photoshop?
Probably 1% of, maybe even a 0.5%.
It's yeah. It's a loaded question, because when it's like saying, how good a baker are you? Well, it's like I can bake a cake, but I'm not like on Cake Boss. So it's a whole wide range of how good you are at Photoshop. With flipping, what you do is you take the marquee tool and you select pretty much whatever you want to rotate over or mirror over. So a lot of times it's half of the image. So you take the marquee tool and select it. Then you duplicate that layer, that image, or Command or Control J to duplicate the image, and then free transform it and flip it either vertically or horizontally. And it'll just flip over, and then you just slide it over to the other half.
Sounds like another lesson.
There we go. Well, I think, Misty, do we cover that in the twirling?
Yes.
I think so,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
because
Thank
it
you.
sounds like it's the same kind of thing.
It's exactly the same thing. It's
That
exactly.
link you provided was also very helpful. On
The
the
what?
short, the link you provided, or Misty sent out with the short YouTube on flipping, on
Yeah.
free transform, that was really helpful.
Good. Good.
Debbie, I have a question. This is Patty.
Hi.
The last portion of it from Pixing Perfect, you mentioned Dovato. Can you go a little bit more?
Envato Elements is for graphic designers.
Okay.
So I personally am not a graphic designer. So it's a website that shares resources, and they sell the resources. Like an action will be like $15 or something. So you can buy them individually if you're not a member. But if you're a member, then they're literally unlimited downloads for $9. So here, I'm going to share my screen again.
Yeah, especially the last two images that you were sharing that look like painterly look.
So,
Wow, that one. Yeah, that one. And actually
well, that one's just pretty much straight out of camera.
yeah, no, the other one, it was the red, oh, Envato. Okay.
Yeah.
Ah, this is pretty cool. Envato Elements.
So here, everything you need for creative projects. And what I do is I go under add-ons, and they have actions and presets and layer styles and Photoshop. So I go actions and presets and Photoshop. And then they're like all kinds of different things on how to do things.
Awesome.
Yeah. And if you use the link that I sent you guys in the PDF, all of these,
$9.
$9.
Wow.
I mean, it's literally the most fun you'll have for a month for $9.
All right.
It is so much fun. Okay. And what they do is they're really good about letting you know, oh, by the way, your first month is up in, like 3 days kind of thing. So just go to town. Just, if you just see something that's interesting, just download it.
Great.
And I have not had any problems like viruses or anything like that. So just now, a lot of the ones too, that once you download them, they have a video, a YouTube video that explains how to use the action. So that's really helpful as well.
Okay. And
Yeah.
one more question in regards to the Monet looking. Remember, there was like you were explaining, and I don't know if you can see me, but so you grab the
Here,
camera.
Hang on, let me get off of my share.
Oh, sure.
Let me see if I can find you again. Stop sharing.
So
There you are. Hi.
hello. So you're basically saying that on that Monet looking, you're just grabbing the camera like this, and then you say you go to the V style. So you're going click, 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 click.
No.
Oh,
What I'm doing is I'm doing click, 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 click.
ah, okay. I was doing
Now it's a V form, okay, but it's really click, 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 click.
Got it.
Yeah, you seriously, you're hardly moving at all. Hardly
Yes.
moving.
Ah, that's why.
And sometimes, like if it's windy, is that you can just like hold still. All right, I shake. Okay, so for me, there are all kinds of different ways that I have to do to overcome that. Okay, so I'm on a monopod. I shoot at faster shutter speeds. I shoot in burst mode, so a lot of times my first image and my last image aren't in focus, but sometimes the ones in between are more in focus. All right, so it's a burst thing. So those are kind of ways that I overcome that. So that's just what I do. But if it's windy out and flowers are moving anyway on their own, just hold still and let them move.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Debbie, my understanding, you just use the 50 lens,
Oh no, I use all kinds of lenses.
but do you usually use that like at the nursery?
I use all kinds of lenses.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes it depends on how brave I am. Sometimes if I'm being especially brave or I've connected with them,
Yeah.
and they seem to be okay with, you can bring in them. I shoot on a monopod. I don't like tripods because I feel like they're anchors.
Of course.
So I'll shoot on a monopod, and my 50 to 500 lens is like this long. That's
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, okay.
Huge.
Yeah. So, and I will shoot that in a nursery. So
Yeah.
that's, and I don't like coming in with that because
Yeah.
I think it's just a little obnoxious.
Yeah.
So it depends on my mood and whether I'm being brave and brazen.
Yeah.
So.
Because I have a macro, but I'm still trying to learn on it.
And I've been shooting with my 180 macro lately.
Yeah.
So, another way of shooting for me is trying to. I don't have my camera with me right now. Oh, I know. This is now a camera lens. Work with what you got. But because I do shake too, one of the other ways as far as hand holding is concerned is I will put my hand on my shoulder and I will rest my lens on here and I'll shoot that way.
Oh.
Huh.
So, and that's gotten me really there's a lot of stability in that.
That's a good idea.
So it's just, I'm right-handed, so it goes on my shoulder, all right? Because, you want to like create a little tripod on yourself and get things as close and
Yeah.
lean up against things, okay? But if you can't do that, this works really well.
Okay.
And it also takes the weight of the lens. I mean, your arm is obviously strong, it's just your hand. So it'll just take the weight of your lens. But with the 180 macro, I like it. So, and I will put close-up filters on my 180 macro.
Oh.
Because with my 180 macro, I don't get as close as I want to get. Is I want to get like right up in there.
Yeah.
So, and part of that getting right up in there, don't tell anybody. It's cropping. Shh.
Debbie,
Yes.
do you notice any difference when you're using those close-up filters? Because you said the glass isn't that expensive, clearly, but you seem to like them. I've never heard of them before, so this is great. Never heard of them.
For one, $13 is like, it's worth a try.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
And with some of them, they only have 3 of them. They have 1, 2, and 4. So get the ones that also have the 10.
Yeah.
I don't.
Like the one you get,
Yeah, I don't use the 10 as much. I use the 4 most of the time. But the 10 is really nice to have.
Yeah. What lens do you use them on?
A lot of them.
A lot of them. Okay. So
Yeah.
not. I mean, would you put them on a macro lens or no?
Oh yeah. No, absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. So you can put it on
Okay.
anything that
Okay.
you just screw it on. And it's just, as I said, art has no rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I give you permission to play. Absolutely. With the quality of it, I think I do a lot of sharpening because I shake, okay? And because I shoot in higher ISOs, a lot of times my stuff isn't as crispy sharp as you think that they would be coming out of camera, right? So I do a lot of sharpening in Photoshop.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Me too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
high pass is a great sharpener.
Yeah.
As far as plugins, I use Topaz Labs, I use Luminar, I use Nick, obviously Camera Raw. So whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Now, as far as if you use textures, Topaz Labs has a texture feature in them, which is amazing. Because usually with textures, you have to bring them in to Photoshop and try it on and go, ooh, I don't like that. And then you have to put it away and then bring something else in, right? With Topaz Labs, you can load all those textures in at once. And then you can just like click, no, click, no, click,
Yeah.
click, click. And just kind of try on a whole bunch of them all at once. And then also with textures is that you can work with the blend modes. So you can overlay or soft light or hard light and play with that, and then play with the opacity on that as well. And then you can play with Topaz Labs, allows you to play with the blend mode, the opacity, the contrast, the detail, the saturation. Is sometimes you'll bring in a texture that's different from the color is different from what your color is. So you want to get rid of it, but you like the texture. Just take out the saturation and just use the texture. And just the opacity. And with Topaz Labs is that you can layer textures. So it isn't just one, you can put another texture on top of it and another texture. So it's unlimited. And I really, really like Topaz Labs. So, anything else? I've just so impressed you all.
Yeah. you did.
Good.
Yeah.
Now I want to go get
Yeah.
flowers.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, you want to get what?
I want to go get flowers or go to
Yeah.
a garden.
Me too.
I
You
know.
We all need to. But part of it too, just look around your yard.
Yeah.
Have stuff in your yard. You know, I was teaching a class yesterday, went down to San Diego, and they wanted to learn flowers. And what I did was I said, all right, I want you to go around, I want you to shoot anything but flowers.
Oh.
Okay? I want you to learn how to see. I mean, flowers are easy. You know, just go look for a flower. okay? But when you're starting to see things, okay, see how the light reacts with things. See, you know, if it's like up close, that it's more interesting than further away. As flowers are just like, here I am, you know? So it's just too easy sometimes.
Mhm.
And then flowers, God, I could talk about this all day. You guys are stuck. With flowers too, is it doesn't have to be just straight on. Behind the flower is just as interesting. And dying flowers are interesting too. And just a petal is interesting, you know, or just, you know, so it doesn't have to be the whole thing. Just dissect it, you know, well, I've shot this, you know, what if I shoot over here or behind it? You know, sometimes straight on's fun too. You know, they talk about how you're not supposed to shoot things like dead center. Well, flowers you can, you know, or if you take the flower and you cut it in half, it's amazing how pretty they look when they're symmetrical.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, you know what's fun? If you want to do the flipping, take your spouse's face and flip it. or take your own, okay? And then, you know, if anybody says, oh, I don't know which side's my good side, take it and flip it. Which one do you like better? Because you're not symmetrical.
Let's take a group picture and I'll flip it.
Yeah, everybody turn your videos on. I want to take a group picture. All right, everybody go like this. There we go.
Gary.
Get it, Gary? Gary's just hanging in there.
What's that?
He survived with all these flowers around him.
I
Yeah.
listened to almost everything. It's very informative. It was great, Debbie. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Again, I started a flower group, so if you guys are, you know, welcome to be part of that. You know, I want a place where we can just kind of share flowers. And it's, for me, I mean, things are just so crazy these days. I just wanted a place where you can go and rest and just share something pretty and learn something. I want you guys to ask questions or to say, hey, I just saw a video on, you know, a YouTube video, and, you know, I thought this was interesting, or, you know, hey, I just saw, you know, somebody was offering a class on this. So just a place to share.
That's great.
Yeah.
Be
Thank
sure to
you.
ask
Thank you.
Gilbert to
Really
join
good.
that. I'm sure he'd love it.
I'm sorry, what?
Be sure and ask Gilbert to join that. Famous for saying another flower, you know.
Well, yeah. Any other questions?
No, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for-
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for giving me something to do this morning.